Before we dive into this thrilling story of betrayal and justice, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel for more captivating narratives that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, let's begin our journey with Jesse Stone. The sound of screeching tires pierced the quiet suburban morning as Jesse Stone swerved his sedan to avoid hitting a disheveled man who had darted into the road, arms waving frantically. Jesse's heart pounded against his ribs as he slammed on the brakes, the car coming to an abrupt halt mere inches from the man's knees. "What the hell?" Jesse muttered, rolling down his window. At 34, with his dark hair neatly trimmed and wearing a charcoal suit for his grandfather's will reading, Jesse looked every bit the successful cybersecurity specialist he was. The homeless man, gaunt with a graying beard and wearing layers of tattered clothing, approached the driver's side window, his eyes wide with urgency. "Don't drive this car," he wheezed, glancing nervously around. "Someone cut your brake lines. I saw them. Early this morning." Jesse's brow furrowed. "What are you talking about? Who are you?" "Name's Sam," the man replied, his weathered face creasing with concern. "I sleep under the bridge down the road. Saw someone tampering with your car before dawn. Waited to warn you." A chill ran down Jesse's spine as he recalled his wife Olivia's words from that morning. "Be careful driving today. The brakes felt a little soft when I took Grace to school yesterday." Jesse stepped out of the car, his polished shoes crunching on the asphalt. "Show me," he demanded, following Sam to the front of the vehicle. Sam pointed underneath. "There. See the wet spots? That's brake fluid." Crouching down, Jesse peered beneath his car. Sure enough, a small puddle had formed. His blood ran cold as he spotted the clean cut in the brake line. Not a natural wear and tear, but a deliberate sabotage. "Jesus," he whispered, standing up slowly. "You saved my life." Sam shifted uncomfortably. "Didn't want to see nobody get hurt." Jesse pulled out his wallet. "Let me thank you properly." Sam shook his head. "Don't need money. Just be careful. Whoever did this, they meant business." As Sam retreated back toward the bridge, Jesse stood frozen beside his car, his grandfather's will reading forgotten. His mind raced through possibilities, each more disturbing than the last. Today, of all days, the day Reginald Stone's vast fortune would be distributed among his heirs. Someone had tried to kill him. Jesse pulled out his phone with trembling fingers and called the first person he trusted outside his immediate family. Dr. Joseph Grant, his oldest friend, who worked at the city hospital. "Joe," he said when the doctor answered, his voice barely steady. "I need your help. Someone just tried to kill me." The clinical fluorescent lights of Joseph Grant's office cast harsh shadows across Jesse's face as he paced back and forth, running his hands through his hair. "You're sure about this?" Joseph asked, his brow furrowed with concern. At 40, Joseph carried himself with the quiet confidence of a seasoned emergency physician, though his usual calm was noticeably shaken. "The brake lines were deliberately cut, Joe," Jesse replied, pulling out his phone to show the photos he'd taken. "Someone wanted me dead today, the exact day my grandfather's will is being read." Joseph examined the images, his expression grim. "And you think your family's involved?" Jesse stopped pacing, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Who else would benefit from my death today? My brother Jason has always been jealous of my relationship with grandfather. And my parents. They've never forgiven me for choosing cybersecurity over the family real estate business." "That's a serious accusation," Joseph cautioned. "I know," Jesse sighed, collapsing into a chair. "But grandfather's estate is worth hundreds of millions. For that kind of money." He couldn't finish the sentence. Joseph's office door opened, and a stocky man with salt and pepper hair entered. Walter Briggs, the private detective Joseph had called, carried himself with the wary alertness of someone who had seen too much of human nature's darker side. "You must be Jesse," Walter said, extending a calloused hand. "Joe filled me in on the basics. Someone tried to turn your car into a death trap?" Jesse nodded, the reality of the situation still sinking in. "I can't go to the police yet, not without proof. If I'm wrong about my family, I'd destroy relationships permanently. Walter's shrewd eyes assessed Jesse. So what exactly do you want to do? Jesse leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper. I want to catch them in the act. I want to know who's behind this. And I think I know how, but it's extreme. I'm listening, Walter said. We fake my death, Jesse said simply. The would-be killer thinks they've succeeded, lets their guard down and reveals themselves. Joseph looked alarmed. Jesse, that's insane. What about Olivia and Grace? Your wife and daughter can't think you're dead. Jesse shook his head. No, of course not. Olivia will know the truth. I'd never put her through that. But everyone else needs to believe I'm gone. Walter rubbed his chin thoughtfully. It could work, but you'd need to disappear completely until we gather evidence. I've thought about that, Jesse said. My company has a secure apartment we use for visiting consultants. It's completely off the books. I could stay there, monitor surveillance, and coordinate with you both. What about the will reading? Joseph asked. It will be postponed once news of my accident breaks, Jesse explained. Henry Wallace, my grandfather's attorney, will reschedule once the initial shock passes. That gives us time to set up surveillance and gather evidence. Walter nodded slowly. We'd need to stage a convincing accident. As a doctor, Joe could help with the medical documentation. Joseph looked uncomfortable, but nodded reluctantly. I don't like it, but if someone in your family is willing to kill you for money, we need to expose them. Jesse pulled out a folded paper from his pocket, a photograph of his family at his grandfather's last birthday celebration. His finger traced over the faces. His brother Jason, with his perpetual smirk, his father Gregory, stern and imposing, his mother Patricia, elegant and cold, and himself, standing slightly apart. I never thought it would come to this, Jesse said quietly. But if one of them tried to kill me, I need to know. Rain pattered against the windows of the secure apartment as Jesse watched multiple screens displaying live feeds from hidden cameras. 3 days had passed since his fatal car accident, a meticulously staged event involving his damaged car, a steep embankment, and enough falsified medical records to convince the world that Jesse Stone had died when his brakes failed. The news had spread quickly through San Jose's business community. Reginald Stone's grandson, killed just hours before the reading of the will that would have made him a wealthy man. The tragic irony was not lost on the local media, who painted Jesse as the golden boy cut down in his prime. Anything? Olivia asked, entering the room with 2 mugs of coffee. Her eyes were ringed with exhaustion, her usual vibrant energy dimmed by the strain of maintaining a public facade of grief while secretly supporting her husband's investigation. Jesse took the mug gratefully. Nothing concrete yet. Jason's been making a lot of calls, but he's careful about what he says. My parents are playing the devastated role perfectly, almost too perfectly. Olivia sat beside him, her shoulder touching his. And Grace, how was she today? Jesse's expression softened at the mention of their 6-year-old daughter. Walter says she's holding up well. She knows Daddy's on a special secret mission and can't come home yet. This is insane, Jesse, Olivia whispered. Your family is gathering for your funeral tomorrow, and you're going to be watching them mourn you through hidden cameras. Not all of them will be mourning, Jesse replied grimly, pointing to one of the screens. It showed Jason Stone entering an upscale bar downtown. Let's see who my brother meets tonight. They watched as Jason settled at the bar, ordered a drink, and repeatedly checked his watch. 20 minutes later, a burly man with a shaved head and tattoos creeping up his neck slid onto the stool beside him. Vince Malone, Walter's voice came through the speaker as he called in from his surveillance position. Small-time criminal with a history of vandalism and assault. Interesting choice of drinking buddy for your Harvard-educated brother. Jesse leaned forward, adjusting the audio feed. Through the sophisticated equipment he'd borrowed from his cybersecurity firm, they could hear snippets of conversation. All over the news, Vince was saying, a satisfied grin splitting his face. Clean job, just like you asked. Jason glanced around nervously. Keep your voice down. You weren't supposed to use my name when you called. Relax, man, it's done. Your brother's dead, the cops think it was an accident, and nobody's looking for me. Jesse felt Olivia's hand tighten around his. On screen, Jason slid an envelope across the bar. $2,000 is agreed, Jason muttered. Now we're done. Don't contact me again. Vince pocketed the envelope with a smirk. Pleasure doing business. Enjoy your inheritance. As Jason left the bar, the camera followed him outside where he made a call. Jesse increased the volume. It's me, Jason said into his phone. I just paid him off. He won't be a problem. Yes, I'm sure. Dad, relax. Everything's going according to plan. We'll all get what we deserve now that Jesse's out of the picture. Jesse turned to Olivia, his face pale. My own brother, and my father too. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. I never thought they'd go this far. Not even for Reginald's money. We need more, Jesse said, his voice hardening. We need absolute proof that connects them directly to the sabotage. The apartment door opened as Walter entered, shaking rain from his coat. I think I can help with that, he said, holding up a small recording device. I followed Vince after your brother left. He got drunk and bragged to his buddy about cutting the rich guy's brakes. I got it all on tape. Jesse nodded slowly. Good. Now we need to get him to name names on record. I've got a plan for that, Walter said, but you're not going to like it. The day of Jesse's funeral dawned bright and clear, a cruelly beautiful California day that seemed to mock the somber occasion. From a van parked across from the cemetery, Jesse watched through tinted windows as mourners arrived at the graveside service. There's Henry Wallace, Jesse noted, as his grandfather's attorney approached, clutching a leather portfolio. And my parents just arrived with Jason. Walter adjusted the surveillance equipment. Remember, once the service is over, I'll approach Vince with the offer. You stay put. Jesse nodded tensely, his eyes fixed on his family. His mother Patricia dabbed at her eyes with a handkerchief, the picture of maternal grief. His father Gregory stood stoically beside her, one arm around her shoulders, and Jason, his face appropriately somber, greeted condolence-offering mourners with downcast eyes. They're good actors, Jesse muttered. I'll give them that. The service proceeded with painful slowness. Jesse watched as friends and colleagues he'd known for years spoke of his life and character, their genuine grief, a stark contrast to his family's performance. When Olivia rose to speak, her voice breaking with emotion that Jesse knew was only partly feigned, he felt a stab of guilt for what he was putting her through. I wish there was another way, he whispered to himself. After the final prayers, the mourners began to disperse. Walter slipped out of the van, making his way through the crowd toward Vince Malone, who lurked at the periphery of the gathering. Through an earpiece, Jesse could hear Walter's conversation as he approached Vince. Mr. Malone, Walter said, extending his hand. John Peterson, I represent certain interested parties. Vince eyed him suspiciously. Don't know what you're talking about, man. Walter smiled thinly. Let's not waste time. I know about your arrangement with Jason Stone regarding his brother's unfortunate accident. My clients are impressed with your discretion. Your clients? Vince's interest was clearly piqued. Let's just say they're family members who appreciate the change in inheritance distribution, Walter replied smoothly. They'd like to offer you an additional payment for your services. Call it a bonus for a job well done. Vince's suspicion warred visibly with his greed. How much we talking? 5,000, Walter said, cash, but first they need confirmation, a recorded statement explaining exactly what you did and who hired you. Vince laughed nervously. You're crazy, man. I'm not confessing to nothing. Walter pulled out an envelope. Inside is proof that you were paid by Jason Stone to sabotage Jesse's car. The police would be very interested. My clients are offering you protection and additional payment. Your choice. Jesse held his breath as he watched Vince consider his options. After a long moment, the man nodded. Fine. What do you want me to say? Walter led him to a secluded bench, activating the hidden recording device in his jacket. Just tell me exactly what happened, who hired you, what they asked you to do, and how much they paid you. Vince leaned forward, his voice low but clear. Jason Stone hired me to cut his brother's brake lines. Paid me $2,000 to do it the night before some big will reading. Said his parents were in on it too. They all wanted the brother out of the way so they could get more of the old man's money. And you're certain it was Jason Stone who hired you? Yeah, man. Met him 3 times, once to agree on the job, once to get the details about the car, and yesterday to get paid. He said his parents, Gregory and Patricia, were the ones really calling the shots, though. Walter nodded. And you cut the brake lines on Jesse Stone's car as instructed? Yeah, early morning, like 4 a.m., quick job. Just slice and go. Didn't think it would make such big news. Vince shifted uncomfortably. So, about that money... One more question, Walter said. Did Jason or his parents specify that they wanted Jesse dead? Vince snorted. What do you think happens when someone's brakes fail on the highway? Jason said they needed a permanent solution to their Jesse problem. Said once he was gone, the old man's money would be split between fewer people. Thank you, Mr. Malone, Walter said, standing up. You'll find your payment in a package at your apartment door tomorrow morning. As Walter walked away, Jesse sat back in the van, his hands shaking. The full weight of his family's betrayal crashed down on him. They hadn't just wanted his share of the inheritance, they had wanted him dead. 1 week after his funeral, Jesse sat in Police Captain Ramirez's office, very much alive and listening to the recording of Vince Malone's confession for the 3rd time. So you faked your own death, Captain Ramirez said, leaning back in her chair. That's a new one, even for me. I needed evidence, Jesse replied. If I'd come to you with just suspicions, nothing would have happened. Captain Ramirez nodded reluctantly. The recording is damning. Combined with the photos of the brake line and the bar surveillance footage, we have enough to make arrests. When? Jesse asked. Today, she said firmly. We're bringing in Jason Stone, Gregory and Patricia Stone, and Vince Malone within the hour. Jesse exhaled slowly. I'd like to be there when you tell Henry Wallace that I'm alive. The will reading is scheduled for tomorrow. The family insisted on proceeding despite my death. I think it would be appropriate if I attended. Captain Ramirez's eyes narrowed. Mr. Stone, this isn't about creating a dramatic moment for your satisfaction. It's not about satisfaction, Jesse insisted. It's about justice. They tried to kill me for money they didn't even know they would get. My grandfather's will hasn't been read yet. They murdered me on speculation. After a moment, Captain Ramirez nodded. Fine. Officer Chen will escort you to Wallace's office after the arrests are made. But you stay out of the actual arrest operation. 4 hours later, Jesse sat across from Henry Wallace, whose usual composed demeanor had completely crumbled at the sight of his supposedly deceased client. This is unprecedented, Henry stammered, adjusting his glasses. When the police told me you were alive and your family had been arrested for attempting to murder you, I thought it was some kind of terrible joke. No joke, Jesse said grimly. Just a terrible truth. My brother and parents conspired to kill me for my inheritance. Henry shook his head in disbelief. The irony is, they didn't even know what they stood to gain. Your grandfather's will is quite specific. What do you mean? Jesse asked. Henry opened the leather portfolio on his desk. Reginald's estate is divided almost equally among all family members, with some specific bequests. Your share is 23%, substantial, but hardly worth committing murder over. Jesse laughed bitterly. So they tried to kill me for a slightly larger portion of something they were already getting. Essentially, yes, Henry confirmed. Though now, given the circumstances, there's a clause that may come into play. Reginald included a provision disinheriting any beneficiary who commits a crime against another family member. Jesse sat back, the full implications washing over him. So, my brother and parents will receive nothing, Henry finished. Their shares will be redistributed among the remaining beneficiaries according to the proportional distribution outlined in the will. The irony wasn't lost on Jesse. His family had risked everything to gain a slightly larger inheritance, and in doing so, had lost it all. The will reading tomorrow, Jesse said slowly. I'd still like it to proceed as scheduled. Henry looked surprised. You want to face the rest of the extended family? It will be quite a shock. I think they deserve to know the truth, Jesse replied. All of it. The conference room at Wallace, Patel and Associates was silent as the assembled Stone family members stared in shock at Jesse, who stood beside Henry Wallace at the head of the table. Cousins, aunts, uncles, all had come expecting a somber reading of Reginald Stone's will following the tragic death of his grandson. Instead, they found the deceased very much alive. As you can see, Henry began, his professional composure restored, Jesse Stone is not dead. Before we proceed with the reading of Reginald Stone's will, Jesse would like to address you all. Jesse surveyed the faces around the table, some confused, others relieved, a few suspicious. Olivia sat beside him, holding his hand tightly. I know this is a shock, Jesse said. A week ago, someone tampered with my car's brake lines in an attempt to kill me. Thanks to a homeless man named Sam, I discovered the sabotage before it could claim my life. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the room. With the help of friends, I faked my death to uncover who wanted me dead and why. Yesterday, the police arrested those responsible. My brother Jason and my parents, Gregory and Patricia. Gasps and exclamations filled the room. An elderly aunt clutched her chest in shock. They believed that by eliminating me before grandfather's will was read, they would increase their share of the inheritance. They hired a man named Vince Malone to cut my brake lines, and we have his full confession on record. This is impossible, Jesse's cousin Michael exclaimed. Aunt Patricia and Uncle Gregory would never— I thought the same, Jesse interrupted, his voice steady despite the emotion behind it. But we have irrefutable evidence. Video surveillance, audio recordings, and physical evidence from my car. Henry cleared his throat. In light of these developments, and in accordance with the terms of Reginald Stone's will, Jason, Gregory, and Patricia Stone are disinherited under the clause regarding crimes committed against family members. The silence that followed was profound. Jesse looked around the table at the family he had grown up with, now forever changed by his closest relative's betrayal. I don't take any pleasure in this, he said quietly. But my grandfather built his fortune on principles of hard work and integrity. He wouldn't want his legacy tainted by murder. Henry began the formal reading of the will, detailing the specific bequests and the redistribution of shares following the disqualification of Jason, Gregory, and Patricia. Jesse listened with mixed emotions, the victory of justice overshadowed by the loss of his family. When the reading concluded, Jesse and Olivia stepped outside into the bright California sunshine. Walter and Joseph waited for them, along with a surprise visitor. Sam, the homeless man who had saved Jesse's life, now cleaned up and wearing new clothes. I found him, Walter explained. Thought he should know what happened. Jesse approached Sam, extending his hand. You saved my life. I can never repay that debt. Sam shook his hand awkwardly. Glad it worked out. Didn't feel right, someone trying to hurt family like that. We've set up a trust for you, Olivia explained, enough to get you housing, healthcare, whatever you need. Sam looked uncomfortable, but nodded his thanks. As they walked toward the parking lot, Jesse turned to his friends. I still can't believe they would try to kill me for money they were already getting. Greed doesn't always make sense, Joseph observed. What happens now? Walter asked. Jesse looked toward the horizon, where the San Jose skyline glittered in the distance. We rebuild. I have a daughter who needs to understand why half her family is gone. I have a company to run, and I have a grandfather's legacy to honor. And you have us, Olivia reminded him, squeezing his hand. Jesse nodded, feeling the weight of the past weeks begin to lift. The irony is that grandfather always said his fortune wasn't the most valuable thing he would leave behind. He said it was the family bonds that mattered most. Some bonds proved stronger than others, Joseph noted. Yes, Jesse agreed, thinking of Olivia, of Grace, of the friends who had helped him uncover the truth. And those are the ones worth protecting. As they drove away from the attorney's office, Jesse glanced in the rearview mirror at the building where his family's fate had been decided. The inheritance that had nearly cost him his life would now help build a new future, one founded on trust rather than betrayal, on truth rather than deception. If you enjoyed this tale of family betrayal and justice served, please subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories that explore the depths of human nature. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment sharing your thoughts on Jesse's journey. Your support helps us bring more thrilling narratives to life.